In this lecture we will see how we derive a multivariate normal distribution. But before going for multivariate normal distribution, we should get a complete idea about univariate normal distribution. So univariate normal distribution, as we know, the density of univariate normal distribution is 1 upon sigma root 2 pi e raised to minus 1 half x minus mu upon sigma bracket square. So firstly we will see how this particular density has been derived. Once we get complete idea about univariate distribution, then corresponding multivariate distribution can be generalized. So don't think that you know this priority just for the time point, for this particular time point, forget this particular density and we will derive this density. So consider a continuous distribution. Suppose we want to derive a continuous distribution where it ranges from minus infinity to plus infinity. So we want a continuous distribution to be distributed over entire real line, and suppose we want it to be concentrated around point mu. So this mu, and we want symmetric distribution so that mu will be mean of the distribution. So whatever distribution we are going to have, that will be symmetric around mu. And the basic funda of this particular distribution will be like this. Whenever a point is given and the density at that particular point will be asked. So how to find density at that particular point, that we will see. So while calculating density at this particular point, what we are wishing is the distance of that particular point from the central point mu is to be considered, and based on that particular distance, whichever point is very near to mu will get higher density, and whichever point is somewhat further from mu will get smaller probability. So in short, whatever density we want to have has to be proportional with this x minus mu. This distance, higher the distance, smaller will be the density. If this particular distance is smaller, then the density will be higher. So it will be inversely proportional kind of thing. So as x minus mu increases, we want fx to be smaller, so that this particular point will enjoy higher density and this point will enjoy a smaller density value. But for this particular setup, suppose this distance is 2 and this particular distance is 4. So naturally suppose this one is x1, this one is x2. So x2 is quite away from mu comparing to x1. But in some other situations, suppose some scaling is quite different, and in that particular case, this particular distance of 4 may be smaller comparing to the other distances. Means suppose two students have scored marks and difference between them is say 4. So x1 and x2, difference between them is 4. So out of 21 student have got 12 marks and other student have got 16 marks. So clearly there is quite difference between these two marks. So we will see that their intellectual level, that is having quite a significant difference. But suppose the test, instead of 20, if it has been considered out of 1000 marks and the marks are like say 504 and 508. So even if this distance is 4 meter, 4 marks, this distance is of 4 marks, even if these two values are 4 marks away from each other, then also that particular distance is not that much significant. So here 12 and 16, this distance of 4 was significant, but in this case 504 and 508, even if they are 4 points away from each other, this is negligible comparison to the total distance. Total we are considering test score out of 1000 marks, and therefore comparing to that, the distance of 4 is quite a smaller distance, and therefore whenever we consider whenever we consider a distance between 2 points, just this absolute quantity 4 or 2, that quantity cannot be considered uniquely, because whenever we consider 2 or 4, that may be misleading. Whenever we have to consider the distance, we have to standardize it using the entire measure. This 4 distance, when total range was 20, that is significant, but the distance of 4, when the total distance, maximum allowable distance is 1000, in that case this 4 is not a significant value, and therefore we have to consider the distance with total allowable distance or total variation. So whatever total variation is allowed in the data, comparing to that, how much this distance carries the weightage, and therefore instead of just x minus mu, the distance measure, that will be standardized distance measure, will be taken as x minus mu divided by sigma. So if sigma is the total variation, then comparing to that much variation, what is the weightage of this particular deviation, x minus mu? And therefore instead of just considering x minus mu, we will consider total deviation, means total, it will be a kind of relative measure. X minus mu will be absolute measure, whereas x minus mu upon sigma, as you can see, it is unitless quantity. Suppose the data is in centimeter, so x centimeter minus mu centimeter, so numerator is measured in centimeter divided by standard deviation, again the same unit, centimeter. So they will vanish and it will be a pure number. So x minus mu will be a quantity measured in certain units, whereas x minus mu upon sigma is unitless quantity, it is a pure number. So this we will take as a distance measure. But again there is problem, this point is say 4 distance away x2, similarly this point is again 4 distance away from each other, and we want both the points x2 and x3 to have same density, because we want symmetric distribution. So suppose at this particular quantity this density is there, at this point this density is there, then at x2 also we should have same density. So instead of considering just x minus mu upon sigma as a distance measure, since we want symmetricity, therefore we will take square of this, x minus mu upon sigma bracket square, that means it will be x minus mu bracket square upon sigma square. So this will be distance between given point x and standard point mu. So this will be a distance measure from mu and x, and we want densities to decrease along with this particular distance. If distance increases, then density f of x should decrease. So with the distance function dxy, as it in dx mu, as it increases, fx should decrease. We want this to happen, and moreover we want this to decrease in exponential manner. This density should be decreasing, and that should be decreasing in exponential manner, and therefore accordingly we will have density function. So suppose this particular x-axis we have suppose this is the x-axis, this is point mu. At this particular point mu, the highest density will be there, and as we move away from mu, we want densities to decrease, and that to in exponential manner. So what we want f of x is, it should be e raised to, and we want as higher the distance, we want minimum the density, smaller the density. Therefore instead of taking this will be, as the distance increases, this density will increase in exponential manner, but we want density to decrease as we move away from mu, and therefore we will consider minus sign here, and we want that to happen on both the sides. Therefore we will consider it to be e raised to minus 1/2 x minus mu upon sigma bracket square. So this is the core part of the multivariate normal density, e raised to minus 1/2 x minus mu upon sigma bracket square. Actually the density of any univariate normal distribution is like this, e raised to minus 1/2 x minus mu upon sigma bracket square. But since there are some restrictions on the density function that it should integrate to 1, but unfortunately this will not integrate to 1. Where it will integrate, total integration of this particular quantity from minus infinity to infinity, it will be sigma into root 2 pi. And therefore if we want this particular quantity to be a density function, then this sigma upon root 2 pi, that has to be brought on this particular side, and now if we take integration, it will be 1. And therefore integration of univariate normal distribution will now be defined as 1 upon sigma root 2 pi e raised to minus 1/2 x minus mu upon sigma bracket square. So this is the actual form of density of univariate normal distribution. Fx is equal to 1 upon sigma root 2 pi e raised to minus 1/2 x minus mu upon sigma bracket square, where mu is this central value, which is nothing but mean parameter of the distribution. Sigma is standard deviation, that will work as another parameter of normal distribution. So univariate normal distribution will be characterized by two parameters, mu and sigma square. Either we can take sigma or sigma square, that doesn't matter, there is one-to-one relationship. So sigma square will be variance of normal distribution. So mean and variance will characterize univariate normal distribution. Unless and until you provide both the mean and variance the normal distribution will not be specified completely. And if we draw this particular diagram, the curve will have maximum value, peak value at mu, and as we move away from mu, it will decrease in exponential manner like this. And this is happening on one side. Similarly, the same thing will happen on other side. It will never touch x-axis. It will act as a asymptote to x-axis. It will be whenever you reach infinity, that time only you will attempt zero value on x-axis, but reaching infinity is hypothetical thing. So this will be a curve of univariate normal distribution mu sigma square. And then there are certain particular cases. If mu is 0, sigma square is 1, then we call it as univariate standard normal distribution. And now whatever thing we have studied in univariate distribution, that particular thing we have to generalize for multivariate distribution. So we'll generalize this idea to multivariate normal distribution. So till now what we have considered, density of univariate distribution is f of x is 1 upon sigma root 2 pi e raised to minus 1/2 x minus mu upon sigma bracket square. And those conditions are there. X has to be real, mu has to be real, and sigma square has to be positive. Sigma is also has to be positive because sigma is positive square root of variance. Now consider this. This is just a constant, as we have seen earlier. This has no special meaning in this particular density. This is just a standardization thing. Since this doesn't integrate to 1, therefore this is just adjustment factor. Therefore we will not bother about this. We will derive it later on. But what we should talk firstly is what should be the exponent quantity in that particular expression. So we will consider this particular thing, e raised to minus 1/2 x minus mu upon sigma bracket square. So this e raised to minus 1/2 x minus mu upon sigma bracket square. How to tackle this particular quantity, that we will see first. Now this we can write as e raised to minus 1/2 alpha into x minus mu bracket square, where this alpha is nothing but 1 upon sigma square. And as we know, sigma square is a positive quantity. 1 upon sigma square is going to be a positive quantity. So this expression, just consider this exponent. Again, we don't have to bother about minus 1/2. This is a constant in any system. So we'll consider this quantity, alpha into x minus mu bracket square. This can be written as x minus mu prime alpha x minus mu. Now x minus mu is a scalar quantity. So even if we take prime of that number, it will be the same number as it is. So x minus mu bracket square is nothing but x minus mu prime into x minus mu, and that alpha will come in between. Now all these are scalars. This is a 1 by 1 quantity, alpha is 1 by 1, x minus mu is 1 by 1 quantity. So all these are just pure numbers, scalar quantities. Now if we want to go for multi-dimension, so whatever mean point is there in multi-dimension, that will be say mu bar, and x bar will be any arbitrary point. How it is deviated from mu bar, based on that particular deviation we want to assign certain density to that particular point x bar. Therefore the density we want to calculate is for point, multidimensional point x bar, and its deviation from the center of gravity of that data cloud mu bar, that will be considered. So x will be replaced by x bar, mu will be replaced by mu bar. So simply x bar minus mu bar. And now alpha was a positive number or non-negative number. If it is exactly equal to 0, then it will be a degenerate distribution. So in alpha will be a positive number that can be replaced by a positive definite matrix. As we have seen in the previous lecture, analogy between positive number and positive definite matrix. So that analogy is used here. So if alpha is non-negative, alpha is positive, then we are going to consider a positive definite matrix A. So instead of alpha, I am writing here A. Now this x bar, if it is in p dimension, suppose this particular point is in p dimension, so this will be 1 cross p row vector. A will be p by p, positive definite matrix, x bar minus mu bar, will be p cross 1 column vector, so that total dimensions will be 1 cross 1, and this will work as whatever this quantity comes out, that real number will work as a distance between x bar and mu bar. So even if we are in multi-dimension, the distance between 2 points will be a scalar number, that need not be a vector. So we are considering here distance between two vectors, and that distance comes out to be a scalar number. Then only we can compare whether 2 points are close to each other or they are away from each other. So this alpha into x minus mu bracket square, this in multi-dimension, in p dimensions, now we are treating it to be x bar minus mu bar prime into a into x bar minus mu bar, where this a is positive definite matrix. So now density in multi-dimension, f x bar evaluated at this particular point, n dimensional point x bar, will be k into e raised to minus 1/2 into this quantity, x bar minus mu bar prime a into x bar minus mu bar. This x bar will be some point in p dimension, mu bar it will be again a point in p dimension, and a is positive definite matrix. A is just like sigma is positive, here a will be positive definite matrix. Now this is the core part of multivariate normal distribution. Now just the part remains is whether what will be the this particular quantity k. Now it remains only to determine the quantity k. So again the same thing, if it is density, if it has to be called as a density, then its integration has to be 1. So f x bar at this particular point x bar, whenever we take integration over x bar, then that integration has to be 1. So this is nothing but x bar is composed of several components. So integration over x1, integration over x2, integration over xp, f x bar, again this small x bar is nothing but x1, x2, xp. It is just like a joint structure. dx1, dx2, here it should not be a vector, we are considering scalar quantities, individual quantities. So this integration has to be 1. So for that value of k for which this integration is 1, that value will be considered and put here, and then we will get a proper form of the multivariate normal distribution. So it is now straightforward thing, just we have to determine k such that this integration turns out to be 1, and once we derive the value of k, we are through, we will get entire multivariate normal distribution. Exact form of that multivariate normal distribution will be known then. So now this integration, so this will be integration from x1 to xp. This quantity is nothing but k into e raised to minus 1/2 x bar minus mu bar prime a x bar minus mu bar dx1 dx2 up to dxp. This integration has to be 1. Now if I take this k outside this constant, since k is constant, just like in one univariate case, it was 1 upon sigma root 2 pi, it was independent of any xi value. So it was system specific parameter, it was population level parameter, so that was constant. Similarly this k has nothing to do with x bar, value of x bar, so it is system level constant. So we can take this k outside of this particular integration, and once we take it outside, we can bring it on this particular side. So RHS instead of 1, I will write it to be 1 upon k. So this k will be taken on right hand side, and now it will be integration of this particular thing, and that will be 1 upon k. So k is reciprocal of this entire integration. Now we will determine this integration, what will be the integration. Once we determine this integration, its inverse will be taken, and that will be assigned to k. Now while calculating this, for calculating this particular expression, since we are now having integration in multi-dimensions, we are integrating it with respect to x bar. So before moving ahead, this A is taken to be a positive definite matrix. So there always exists a matrix C. Whenever we are having this particular matrix A, then there always exists a non-singular matrix C such that C prime AC will be equal to identity matrix of the same dimension. Now this is just a kind of orthogonalization. C prime AC, this C prime will act upon on columns of A, and then C will act upon resultant rows of resultant matrix. So this is just a kind of orthogonalization. Whenever we are considering I, diagonal elements will be 1, other elements will be 0. So there is a standard result. We will see that result later on. Whenever we are having a matrix like A, C, there always exists a matrix C such that C prime A C is equal to I. Now for the given matrix, you can consider it to be a means it will be a kind of decomposition of A inverse. Instead of multiplying by A inverse, we have considered two parts of A inverse, C prime and C. It is not exactly A inverse, but it is kind of that only. So C prime AC is equal to I in this expression. So once we are given the matrix A, then we, based on that matrix A, we can find out a matrix C such that C prime AC is equal to I. Now we are having C with us. So this x bar minus mu bar will have a transformation here. We will bring into picture y bar, a random vector y bar, such that y bar will be defined in such a way that C into y bar will be equal to this quantity. So this x bar minus mu bar will be considered to be C y bar, and what this C is that matrix for which C prime AC is equal to I. So based on matrix A, we have obtained matrix C such that C prime AC is equal to I, and once we obtain matrix C, then we will have a transformation vector y bar. We will bring another vector into picture y bar such that y bar will be defined in such a way that x bar minus mu bar will be equal to C y bar. Now once we define this particular matrix C y bar, now we will work out with this particular expression, x bar minus mu bar prime into A into x bar minus mu bar. So this will be x bar minus mu bar. This is considered to be C y bar. So C y bar, but its prime has to be taken because x bar minus mu bar prime was there. So C y bar prime into A into x bar minus mu bar, again C y bar. So once we take transpose of this expression, the order will change y bar C prime A C y bar. Now this C prime AC, C was defined in such a way that C prime AC is equal to I, and therefore this is identity matrix, so it will vanish. Multiplication by it is virtually doing nothing, so it will be y prime y bar. So this expression x bar minus mu bar prime A into x bar minus mu bar, this expression has now reduced to y prime y. Whatever new vector y bar we have defined in this way, x bar minus mu bar is equal to C y bar. After application of that particular thing on this expression, it reduces to y prime y. So this exponent, this particular expression, exponent x bar minus mu bar prime into A into x bar minus mu bar, that will now reduce to y prime y bar. So this integration will now become integration from e raised to minus 1/2. Instead of x bar minus mu bar A x bar minus mu bar, it will be simply y prime y. This particular thing will be y prime y. And now we are going to change this particular integration. Instead of x1, now we want to change entire system from x bar to y bar. So just like in univariate cases, suppose distribution of x is given, distribution of random variable x is given, and then y is defined like x square or 2x plus 3, some kind of transformation of on x, and based on density of x we want to derive density of y. Then there is complete transition from this system to this system. If this was the density in x system, what will be the density in y system? So we use the same density for y, but as a penalty of changing from one system to other, we multiply it by Jacobian J. So that Jacobian will work as a penalty of transformation from one system to other system. So same thing we want to do here, and for that, if we want to have a transformation, then we should pay certain penalty for that particular transformation. That will work instead of penalty, that may work as a bridge between these two systems. So for that particular thing we have to determine J. So J will be nothing but D, as we have seen. It is J in one dimension, it is nothing but whichever variable is vanishing, whichever system we are leaving, that will appear in numerator and the new system will appear in denominator. So it is just kind of measuring the old system in terms of a new system. This is a new variable. So from new perspective we are visualizing the previous system. So same thing we are doing here. So j will be dx bar divided by dy bar, and this will be nothing but, since x bar is, this mu bar will come on this side, it will be x bar will be mu bar plus cy bar. So this is d dy bar of mu plus cy bar. So this mu is constant, so this will be just like d by dx of 2x kind of thing, d by dx of say c into x. So as in one dimension it comes out to be this particular constant. In if it is matrix multiplication, then determinant of c will be the derivative of this particular expression. So Jacobian of transformation for this particular transformation is determinant of c. But what we already know is a, this c was defined based on a. So things are quite clear once we define it in terms of a, because a was already known to us. C is some derived form of a, such that c prime ac is equal to I. So instead of having terminology in terms of c, it is better to express it in terms of a. So if determinant of c can be expressed in terms of determinant of a or some form of a, then it will be a good for ourselves. So for that we will use this expression, c prime ac is equal to I. We have this expression, c prime ac is equal to I, and as we all know that determinant of product is product of determinant. So once we take determinant of this, it will be determinant of identity matrix, which is nothing but 1. So this will be, when we apply determinant over individual matrix, it will be determinant of c, determinant of a, determinant of c. Now determinant of say b, matrix b, and determinant of b transpose. Now composition wise, whatever is there in b, same thing will be there in b prime. So both are having same things, and a determinant can be solved row wise or column wise. So both way we are going to get same result. So determinant of b is always equal to determinant of b transpose. Whenever a matrix is there, whenever we are talking about determinant, obviously it will be a square matrix only. So whenever a matrix is given, its determinant and determinant of its transpose both are going to be the same, and therefore determinant of c is going to be same as determinant of c transpose. So this particular expression, instead of determinant of c transpose, I can write here as determinant of c. Now it becomes determinant of c, since determinant of c is a scalar number, so we can square it. So instead of like in writing determinant of c, determinant of a into determinant of c, I can write it as determinant of c square into determinant of a, and this is 1, and therefore determinant of c square will be 1 upon determinant of a, and therefore determinant of c will be 1 upon determinant of a raised to 1/2. So in this way we have found out determinant of c in terms of determinant of a. So we don't have to go for determinant of c now. If we know a, we can find its determinant, we can take square root of that determinant value, we can reciprocate it, and the resultant value will be declared to be determinant value of matrix C. So this is a Jacobian of transformation. Now one more thing here, the exponent e raised to -1/2 x bar minus mu bar prime a x bar minus mu bar, this particular exponent, this quantity is now reduced to some other quantity as y prime y. And what this y prime is a vector. Y prime is a 3-dimensional vector, and therefore whenever we consider y prime y, it is nothing but dot product of the vector with itself, and therefore it is, as we have seen in previous lecture, it will be summation yi square I from 1 to p. So it is just multiplying y values with component values with same value. So it will be y1 square plus y2 square plus yp square, and therefore it will be summation yi square, and therefore this e raised to -1/2 y prime y bar will be equal to e raised to -1/2 summation yi square I from 1 to p. And therefore now the density of y bar, where y bar is defined in this way, this is a new system now. So f of y bar will be equal to whatever this expression over y1 y2 yp will be e raised to -1/2. Instead of this quantity, it will be y prime y. It means summation yi square I from 1 to p. and penalty, that is the Jacobian of transformation determinant of C 1 upon determinant of A raised to 1/2. This quantity will be written, and this f of x bar, this particular expression was integrating to 1 by k. So similarly we'll have this particular expression. So now we are talking in terms of y term. So this integration will be now equal to this integration, therefore this will be equal to 1 upon k. So k will be determined such that this, the total integration value of this will be 1 upon k. Now determining this is quite easy. Determinant of a raised to 1/2, this is a scalar number, so it will come out of the expression. So 1 upon determinant of a raised to 1/2, this integration of y1 up to yp, here dy1 dy2 up to dy2, e raised to minus 1/2 summation yi square I from 1 to p. This has to integrate to 1 upon k. Now this determinant of a raised to 1/2, this is a constant thing, it remains only to integrate this particular quantity. Now because of this summation y square, what this quantity is, e raised to minus 1/2 y1 square into e raised to minus 1/2 y2 square into e raised to minus 1/2 yp square. Since the bases are same, it will be addition of exponents and it will be minus 1/2 summation y square. So this expression can be we can differentiate each term, we can separate out each term. So it will be e raised to minus 1/2 y1 square, this will be only in terms of y1, this quantity will be only in terms of y2, this quantity will be only in terms of yp. And once we separate out those terms, then integration, corresponding integration can be applied on that particular term. So whenever we want to integrate it with respect to y1, suppose we want to integrate it with respect to y1, then for all these integration, for integration with respect to y1, all these terms will be constant terms, so they can be taken out of the integration and it will simply remain e raised to minus 1/2 y1 square. It will be integrated with respect to y1, and then all these other terms are there which will be integrated with y2 yp up to yp. So now this is nothing but this total integration can be reduced to the form like this. This will be integration with respect to y1 e raised to minus 1/2 y1 square dy1, then integration with respect to y2 e raised to minus 1/2 y2 square dy2 up to integration e raised to minus 1/2 yp square integration over yp dyp. So this particular expression can be reduced to this particular quantity, and again we can see there is same form repeated. Integration is there, e is there, raised to minus 1/2 there. Only the change is where here suffix is 1, here suffix is 2, suffix is 3. So entire thing is common and only this is changing. So this particular situation can be better handled using some runner. So you apply runner here. So the whatever common thing is there, that we will write integration over y e raised to minus 1/2 y square. Now the only change is once we take integration with respect to y1 with respect to y2 up to yp, so that can be entered using this runner, and here we will write y, and this will run as long as I will run from 1 to p. So I is equal to 1 we will get first term, I is equal to 2 we will get second term, and I is equal to p we will get the last term as integration over yp e raised to minus 1/2 yp square dyp. So 1 upon determinant of a raised to 1/2 product of this particular thing, and this will be equal to 1 upon k. Now what this quantity turns out to be, that we will see, because whatever this quantity is going to be, that will be same for y1, that will be same for y2, and all those quantities will be multiplied for p times. So this is clear standard expression. In fact, e raised to minus 1/2 yi square dy, and this integration will run from minus infinity to plus infinity, because x bar was running from minus infinity to plus infinity, and because of this particular expression y bar will also run from minus infinity to plus infinity. Y bar is p-dimensional vector whose every component will run from minus infinity to infinity, and there will be p such components. So this expression is a standard expression, you must have seen it before also, but we will just tackle out this situation. Suppose the expression is like this: e raised to minus 1 half x square from minus infinity to plus infinity dx. So the expression, the runner is different. Instead of y we are considering x, but anyhow we have taken integration, so, and it is definite integration, so whatever this variable is, that variable will not remain in the last step. So how to determine this particular quantity? There is standard rule. Even if you don't solve this, if you write standard answer, then also it is okay, because that is a standard thing. No one need to elaborate on that. But just for sake of simplicity, just for the sake of learning, we will see how this particular thing works out. So instead of x bar, suppose this particular x bar, I will write this particular expression as x bar is equal to, say, t, because this is kind of gamma function, and that gamma function can be solved once we have integration from 0 to infinity. But here we are having integration from minus infinity to plus infinity. So what we will do is, we will put x square is equal to t, therefore 2x dx will be equal to dt, and this expression will become integration e raised to minus 1 half x square is nothing but t, dx is nothing but dt upon 2x, dt upon 2x. So upon 2x, what is x? It is nothing but root t. And if x square, if t is running from minus infinity to plus infinity, x square will run from 0 to infinity. So it will be 1 half integration from 0 to infinity. This t raised to square root of t in the denominator, it means that it is t raised to minus 1 half into e raised to minus 1 half t dt. So it will be 1 half integration 0 to infinity t raised to minus 1 half is nothing but t raised to 1 half minus 1 e raised to minus 1 half t dt. So integration of e raised to minus t into t raised to n minus 1 dt, that is nothing but gamma function. So it will be gamma function of this 1 half, but here it has to be e raised to t only, e raised to minus t only, but here coefficient is there, so this particular quantity will be raised to that coefficient. So 1 half raised to 1 half. So this particular expression, this gamma 1 half is nothing but root pi. So this particular expression will be 1 upon 2, this 1 half, 1 upon 2 raised to 1 half, so that this quantity 1 upon root 2 will be there. Root 2 will get cancelled, and 1 root 2 will only remain. So in denominator, the quantity that remains will be root 2, and here gamma 1 half is root pi. So accordingly the quantities will be derived. So this particular expression will be root pi upon root 2, or you can write it as root pi upon 2. So this is a standard quantity. Every time you don't need to find out that quantity, you can directly put that quantity here. So it will be 1 upon determinant of a raised to 1 half into product from 1 to p. This particular expression, as we have seen now, this is root pi upon root 2, and this will be equal to 1 upon 2. Now this root pi upon root 2, that has been to be multiplied from 1 to p. But here if we can see, this expression is from minus infinity to plus infinity, and therefore in order to tackle that particular thing, suppose if we write here 2 times 0 to infinity. So just since it is symmetric quantity, y square is going to be symmetric in its argument. In its argument, in the sense, whenever we take y is equal to minus 5 square is going to be same as 5 square. So here itself, we will, instead of minus infinity to plus infinity, we will write it from 0 to infinity. So even if here we write it from 0 to infinity, x square is t, again it will range from 0 to infinity, and the same thing is going to work out. So instead of taking here minus infinity to infinity, one small correction is there. We will consider here 0 to infinity, and that will be 2 times 0 to infinity, and therefore 2 quantity will remain here, 2 into root pi upon root 2. So this particular expression will be 1 upon determinant of a raised to 1 half product from 1 to p. This 2 and root 2 will vanish, and it will be simply root 2 pi is equal to 1 upon. Now this root 2 pi is multiplied p times, so it will be 2 pi. Already this quantity is 2 pi raised to 1 half. Root 2 pi, this particular quantity root 2 pi can be written as 2 pi raised to 1 half. Now this particular quantity is raised p times, so it will be 2 pi raised to p by 2. This quantity divided by determinant of a raised to 1 half is 1 by k. Therefore taking k on this particular side, it will be k is equal to, this k will come on this side, therefore this will work as numerator, determinant of a raised to 1 half divided by 2 pi raised to p by 2. So this particular quantity k is equal to determinant of a, k is equal to determinant of a raised to 1 half divided by 2 pi raised to p by 2, and therefore the expression fx will be now, it was 1 upon k, sorry, this is the quantity k, therefore the expression will be determinant of a raised to 1 half. As you can see here, it was defined like this: fx bar is equal to k into e raised to this particular quantity. Therefore that k will put as determinant of a raised to 1 half divided by 2 pi raised to p by 2 into e raised to minus 1 half x bar minus mu bar into a into x bar minus mu bar. X bar and mu bar both are from p dimension. A is positive definite matrix. So this particular is derivation of PDF, density function of multivariate normal distribution. It is just analogous to the univariate normal distribution. Here it was sigma root 2 pi. It was only root 2 pi. Now we are considering p such variable. Therefore it comes out to be root 2 pi raised to p, or simply written 2 pi raised to p by 2. Here sigma was there, so 1 upon sigma instead of sigma, 1 upon sigma root 2 pi was there. Now this root 2 pi has been tackled here. It remains only 1 upon sigma. Now this 1 upon sigma has been replaced by determinant of a raised to 1 half. Since we are considering correspondence between sigma square and a, therefore whenever we are considering sigma, this raised to 1 half has been considered. So 1 upon sigma, and it is not directly sigma square is replaced by a. It is not like that. Sigma square is in fact 1 upon a. So this a is a matrix such that its inverse can be considered to be having some connection with sigma square. So sigma is in the denominator. So this sigma square, if we take derivation, then it will be a raised to minus 1 half. Therefore determinant of a raised to 1 half minus 1 half will be in the denominator. Once it goes to the numerator, it will be determinant of a raised to 1 half. Since here x bar minus mu bar, x minus mu upon sigma was there, so 1 upon, or if we square it, it will be sigma square in the denominator. Again this 1 upon sigma square is nothing but a inverse, so it is nothing but 1 upon a kind of thing. So we have taken it 1 upon sigma square kind of thing, and this 1 upon sigma square is nothing but a inverse, so it is reciprocal of sigma inverse, multiplicative reciprocal of sigma square. Therefore this particular inverse is considered as sigma square. If sigma square corresponds to a inverse, then 1 upon sigma square will correspond to a, and therefore a has appeared here. If we want exactly variance coherence matrix only, then sigma square will correspond to sigma, capital Sigma variance coherence matrix, and here we will write sigma inverse. In that case, if we consider sigma, then here we have to write sigma inverse. In fact, basically this a is nothing but sigma inverse. If we are considering sigma matrix, then determinant of a raised to 1 half, instead of that determinant of sigma raised to 1 half will appear in the denominator. Since it is reciprocal of that, it is appearing in the numerator. So the expression for multivariate normal density will be now this: f of x bar will be determinant of a raised to 1 half divided by 2 pi raised to p by 2 into e raised to minus 1 half x bar minus mu bar. It is kind of a distance measure into a into x bar minus mu bar. So this will work out as density of multivariate normal distribution. Whatever good properties univariate normal distribution is enjoying, same properties will be there for this particular distribution, as it will be symmetric around point mu bar. Now symmetricity in multi-dimensions is not that much simple like univariate case, therefore we have to tackle that situation cautiously. So fx bar will be now determinant of a raised to 1 half. And now determinant of a, since a is taken to be positive definite matrix, therefore determinant of a is always going to be a positive number whose square root can be determined. Therefore if determinant of a, if a was not a positive definite matrix, then it will be kind of square root of a negative number. If determinant of a, in some cases if it comes out to be a negative number, then we will end up with some difficult situation of finding a square root of negative number, so that will go in imaginary domain. But since we are having this as a density function, everything has to be real. So since a is positive definite matrix, therefore determinant of a will be a positive number whose square root we can determine. So f of x bar will be determinant of a raised to 1 half 2 pi raised to p by 2 e raised to minus 1 half x bar minus mu bar prime into a into x bar minus mu bar, and this exponent is nothing but distance function between x bar and mu bar. Higher the distance of x bar from mu bar, because of this particular thing, lower will be the smaller will be the density. As x bar moves away from mu bar, the density will go on decreasing, and that will happen in exponential manner. So whatever is there in univariate setup, that will be equally applicable for multivariate setup only. But here there are several directions. In univariate case, moving away from mu bar was horizontal. There was only one direction. Either you can move in positive towards positivity of that direction or negativity, but horizontal, that is the only one direction. But in multi-dimensions you can move away from mu in several directions, as many, even if there are two coordinate systems, then you can move, suppose moving away from this particular point in multi-dimension, you can move in this direction, you can move in this direction. Moreover, you can move in this particular direction. You can go away from mu in this direction, you can go away from mu in this particular direction or this direction. There are several such directions, and therefore in multi-dimensions this particular distance measure plays an important role in order to find a distance of any point from the given standard point. So based on that particular distance, we have found out this particular density. So as you all have marked up that density function, right now if I ask you what will be the density of univariate normal distribution, you all will come up with the form of that univariate normal distribution. Same thing should happen for multivariate normal distribution also. Multivariate normal density will have the density form as determinant of a raised to 1 half divided by 2 pi raised to p by 2 into e raised to minus 1 half x bar minus mu bar prime into a into x bar minus mu bar. So in case a is here positive definite matrix, which is taken to be like this 1 upon sigma. It is not as simple as that, because sigma is matrix, we cannot divide 1 by this particular thing, but just for the sake of simplicity, just for sake of understanding, remember it in this particular way. If we consider variance covariance matrix itself, instead of a, if we consider sigma, then f of x bar will be 1 upon 2 pi raised to p by 2 determinant of sigma raised to 1 half e raised to minus 1 half x bar minus mu bar. Here a was there, but because of this particular thing, it will be sigma inverse x bar minus mu bar. So this is having quite a good resemblance with univariate density. So you can either remember this particular form or this form. Both the forms are interchangeable. If we know this form, we can on the spot derive this particular form also. So 1 upon, now I will read it on the line of univariate normal density. Just listen carefully. 1 upon sigma, just 1 minute. 1 upon sigma root 2 pi e raised to minus 1 half x minus mu square divided by sigma square. So it is in connection with univariate normal density. So it is better to remember this particular expression as 1 upon 2 pi raised to p by 2 determinant of sigma raised to 1 half e raised to minus 1 half x bar minus mu bar prime sigma inverse x bar minus mu bar, and that follows x bar minus mu bar in p dimension. Sigma is positive definite matrix, therefore sigma inverse will also be positive definite matrix. Remember that here sigma is there, here sigma inverse is there, because in one dimension it is x bar minus mu bar square upon sigma square. Upon sigma square in the sense in the denominator sigma square is there. So instead of dividing by sigma square, it is as good as multiplying by its inverse, since we have already learned what multiplicative inverse is. Therefore it will be x bar minus mu bar prime into sigma inverse into x bar minus mu bar. So this is all about multivariate normal density